first off, as you walked through the museum today, what came to mind as you saw the history that was in front of you and being in the plaque gallery here?
Just the greatness of it all, the greatness of the players that are in here. There's a very small percentage of people that play the game of baseball that ever get in here. I don't even know if it's 0.5%, but I realized for the first time it's a very, very special place where I'm going to have my plaque. And, just seeing the Hank Aaron display and the Babe Ruth and things like that is, it finally hit on me that you're in the Hall of Fame.
You played for almost a decade in the minors, played a couple years in the majors. How did your playing career kind of inform your managerial career? Did that shape how you were as a manager, what you became?
Yeah, a little bit probably. I tried as hard as I could as a player. I was kind of maybe a player that a manager wanted to have on his team because he played the game right and he played it hard. Wasn't the most gifted ball player in the world, that's for sure. I only had a chance to spend 2 years at the major league level with the New York Yankees in '68 and '69, but I did learn a lot from Ralph Houk, the manager there. I thought he was one of the guys that influenced me probably the most about managing 25 players and how to do that. And I'm thankful for the time that I spent with Ralph and also coaching 1 year for Billy Martin.
Not to name names, but did you see other examples of what you didn't want to do when you were a player and how you didn't want to be a manager?
Oh, you bet. I played for some managers that I played a lot of ball in South America and plus my minor league days in the States. And there were some managers where you were just miserable all season long. You didn't really want to go to the ballpark. It wasn't fun. Baseball's meant to be a fun game, really, even though you're doing it for money and pride and everything else. And I just took a little bit from every manager that I played for. I threw a bunch away that I didn't like, and I swallowed up a little bit that I did like. But most of it came from Ralph, how he treated people.
Now, you talked about being on Billy Martin's staff in 1977. There are at least a couple references where it's reportedly George Steinbrenner considered you as the manager when he made a couple of changes first when he was with the Yankees. Did you ever think about what it would have been like if that had happened?
I don't know if that was true or not, but I loved Billy. And, George, I worked for George in the minor leagues for a number of years, a long time. And he was even difficult in the minor leagues to work for. And we were far, far away from each other. I can't imagine what Billy would go through with George at the helm. And the one thing about George Steinbrenner, he always put a good quality team on the field that his fans knew would have a chance to win something. And it was fun working for George, and it was fun coaching for Billy.
As many of free agents as George acquired, you also had guys on that '77 team who you had mentored in the minor leagues. Was that a point of pride for you to watch that team and be able to do what they did?
Yeah, you bet. Number one on that list would be Ron Guidry, Louisiana Lightning. I had him in Syracuse in AAA, and we had him in the bullpen at that time. And I can remember calling Gabe Paul, GM of the Yankees in those days, and was telling him, we got a kid down here, I think, can either relieve for us or be a starter. And Ron's the only guy that year that I've ever managed that got a standing ovation when he warmed up in our bullpen in Syracuse. He was that good. And, it is rewarding. That's one thing for managers, even if you're not having a winning season. The reward is watching these guys get better and get to the big leagues. So minor league baseball is about that, developing and also winning if you can.
So then really quickly, '78, you're the manager of the Braves, and 2 years later, the Braves have a winning record. Did you feel like that either the strike or, the fact that team was not able to complete it, do you think that 80-81 Braves team was going to be able to win? Did you feel like you were on the verge of something?
We felt it was on the way to win. We really did. I remember our coaching staff saying, go talk to Ted, tell him we got to have one more year. We knew we were going. You smell it as a manager and coaching staff, and they had to make a move, and they did. And but that was all right. because it worked out great for me. I went to one of the best organizations in all of baseball up in Toronto with Pat Gillick and Paul Beeston. And those 4 years up there, I had as much fun probably as I've ever had in a game of baseball.
Did you tell Joe that you left the table set for him?
Well, it wasn't that good, but I knew we'd have, somewhat of a crack at it.
So talk about your time in Toronto. That team, you very quickly became a contender in the AL East. Did you know going in that hey, Pat had stocked this minor league system pretty good and you were ready?
Yeah, Pat and I had been friends for a long time prior to going to Toronto. And he told me, and I researched it a little bit, they had a lot of young kids coming, not quite ready to win probably, but it didn't take us long to do something. And again, that was one of my most enjoyable 4 years of my career.
What's your best memory about that '85 team that won 99 games in the AL East?
Well, I remember Kansas City beat us in the playoffs. We had them down, I think, 3-1. And that was the year they went to a 7-game series instead of a 5. So if they hadn't changed it, we would have been in the World Series. But there was a lot of fluke things that happened in that series. And I always said, you get into the playoff seasons, it's almost a flip of the coin sometime, which way the ball's going to bounce, for each team. And it just didn't bounce right for us.
So then you go back to the Braves as a general manager. What was the impetus for that? Why did you want to be back in Atlanta at that point?
Well, Atlanta's where my family was. And, I was working in Toronto, and that's a long ways away from Atlanta, and we still had kids in school. And when Ted offered me the job, number one was the family, and number two was baseball, but, family comes over baseball.
How quickly did you find that you missed being in the dugout?
Oh, from day one. I don't think I was really cut out to be a GM, maybe, but we had a plan. We had a 4 or 5 year plan that we prepared, and most of it was on drafting, farm system, developing. Those were the years of collusion. Our payroll was under $10 million at the time. We spent all of our money drafting players in the draft, and we didn't want to lose anybody. If we drafted somebody, some scout wanted him, we signed him. So that really got the foundation going, and all that had to do with Paul Snyder, our scouting director. I was only along with him. He made all the decisions.
Take me through what happened, the steps that got you back in the dugout in 1990.
We made some managerial changes, and I was wanting to get back in the dugout. Stan Kasten became president of the team, and he thought the best guy out there when he talked to me was John Sherholtz, and he picked the right one. John made a huge difference coming into the Brave organization, from a winning organization in Kansas City to the Braves. So it made a huge difference, and I got back where I wanted to, and we won the very same year I went back down. And that started 14 years of excellent baseball.
Did you see it coming? I mean, 91, you go from worst
Yeah,
to first.
we were, what had happened, we were 2 or 3 defensive players away from really having a good pitching staff, I felt. We just didn't have the defense, and we went out and signed a couple free agents, Terry Pendleton, Sid Breen. We got Rafael Belliard to play shortstop, and picked up a guy here and there that made a huge difference. Our defense was excellent, and our pitching became excellent.
Tom Glavine had told us that 91 was his most enjoyable season, maybe even more than 95, because of going worst to first. Was there that magic with that team?
It was magic. It was energy. It was exciting. The city was on fire for a change. We were packing Old Fulton County Stadium capacity. The tomahawk chop came alive, and the city was just full of energy. And it was Braves, 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 and that has to be right up there with the '95 World Series championship.
Talk about 95. What was it about that team that put it over the top? Because you played a really good Cleveland team in the World Series.
Cleveland was an excellent baseball team. We may have had a tad better pitching. They had a great batting order. We had a good batting order as well. And it went down to the 6th game, a 1-0 victory by Tommy Glavine, and Mark Wohlers was the closer in that game. And And we did a lot of things right that season, and we did a lot of things right in that World Series. They went our way a little bit.
We asked Tom about that, and he asked him, hey, would you want to go back out there in the ninth? And he said, no. I knew I was done, and I told Bobby I was done. Was it a difficult decision for you? Because when a guy like that is pitching a one-hitter, you think, well, he's going to finish it.
It was very difficult, but Tommy Glavine and Greg Maddux were two of the most honest pitchers. When I talked to them, they would give me the straight dope. You know, I'm either good to go or you need to get somebody in there, and I knew it. You have to remember, when you go through the long season, you go through spring training, the entire baseball season, then you get into the playoffs, you get into the World Series, you're playing 230-some games, and it adds up, and guys do get physically tired.
You've been in baseball 50 years. Did you ever think you would see a run like that where 14 straight division titles?
Probably not, but once you get the first one, you know, you want to get the second one. You get the second one, you want to continue it. And we pretended every spring training that we went to, I wanted them to be proud of it and carry themselves like a major league team and be proud of it, but yet we haven't done nothing for the next coming season. We got to go again.
Were those guys able to do that? Were they able to put that out of their mind? Because obviously it's human nature to know what you've done and know where you are.
The type of players we've had coming through there, they could do that, I think. I mean, they knew, hey, we can't live on what happened last year. You can't become complacent. You can't not work as hard as you did the previous year. You got to continue all that stuff. And it's not easy, you know, but once you've got it, you want to keep going.
Of the 14 first place finishes, not counting 95, what was the best team not counting 95?
Oh, I don't know. I would hate to say. The 95 team was good. We had a lot of good teams, and we played in 5 World Series, and again, I thought we could have won a couple of them. In fact, I think we played better in 2 or 3 of them we did in 95. Just didn't go the way we wanted it to go.
Talked about a little bit about this morning. Now that there's been a couple months, has it really sunk in for you that you're here and you're in Cooperstown?
I think the orientation day, which is taking place right now, has really hit home with me. It's become a little more emotional. When I was in the winter meetings in Orlando and I got the call from Jane Clark, it was emotional, but it hadn't hit me. The entire winter meetings and after I got home, it didn't really hit me. But today, being on these hallowed grounds, it's hit me pretty hard, and I feel like I'm now in the Hall of Fame.
As a manager, were there certain other managers you enjoyed competing against when they were in the other dugout that you enjoyed the fact that the challenge of playing chess against them, so to speak?
Well, I can think of 2 off the top of my head, Sparky Anderson and Gene Mauch. I thought, you know, as a young manager coming up, I really looked at those guys. I studied them. I watched them every move in their dugout and watched their moves on the field. And, you know, when I was a young guy, I thought those 2 were the guys you better listen to and better watch what they do.
Was it, as a manager, was it more important for you to be focused on the in-game move, or was it more important for you to be focused on the clubhouse and getting the guys ready for a given, you know?
You've got to be focused on those 25 players and keeping them looking ahead to win and making sure when they hit those clubhouse doors in the afternoon that they had a smiley face on and they were ready for a ball game. And you tried to make the environment so that they enjoyed coming to the ballpark, getting the game started and winning. And it rubs off. It becomes a big deal for me. Like I said, I played on some teams and for some managers where it was no fun at all. So,
was it important for you to have trust in them? In other words, you're going to treat them like men, but you expect them to behave
well, I
like
did.
men.
I made them feel like they were human beings and men, not just a bunch of kids out there. And we've got all this discipline. We had discipline, but you know, I wanted them to be their own man. If they had to stretch on their own prior to the game, I trusted them to do that. We didn't go out in front of the dugout and do all that stuff that they do nowadays, which is okay for me. But, you know, I had meetings and told them, look, we're not doing that. And I expect you to have your legs loose and all that, your arms loose for the game. And they loved it. So, and they did it.